Welcome to Tradiers, the Trader's Edge. I'm Jim Iuorio. That's Bob Iaccino. We are two of the three at unfilteredinvestor.com. So a lot of you guys have checked us out over there, and we greatly appreciate it. We hope you appreciate the work that Mike Arnold and Bobby Iaccino do on the technicals. Bobby, it's a big day. It's NVIDIA day. I got to get it up on my screen. What am I even
get it up
thinking?
on your screen.
What am I thinking here?
I saw, I actually did a webinar today, and I said that options are pointing to a $6 move. I meant 6%.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
So I misled people a little bit
nothing,
today.
Man. Yeah. What do you think? Is that the reason that markets seem kind of quiet and not very interesting today? Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the biggest stock in the NASDAQ, right?
Yeah. So after
I mean, easily. I don't know if it's the biggest stock in terms of market cap. It's 5.2 trillion as of this morning, but it might be. I don't know if it is, but it's definitely the biggest in terms of sentiment.
So what do you care one bit? Let me phrase this right, and then we'll bring on our guest. Do you care one bit about the earnings, or do you only care about how the market reacts to the earnings?
The second one.
Without a doubt.
I only care how the market reacts to the earnings. I give a shit what the earnings are. People talk about guidance. Like, I'll give you an example. It's not earnings, but Apple announced today they expect to ship 10 million foldable iPhones in the first week of their launch. It's up 1.16%. I'm not buying the first foldable iPhone.
Yeah, not at all. Why would
I mean, I like the idea of a foldable phone, and Samsung's had them for a while, but I'm not buying the first one. But people are buying the stock on it.
Yeah.
So I like it, and we have a long position in Unfiltered Investor in Apple that's been kind of moving sideways. So this helps our position.
Okay, good.
So I like the announcement.
Yeah. So other than that, just to be clear on something, there's really no other that interesting themes that were specific to today that I missed, right? I was at the range hitting a couple buckets of balls. It seems like markets are all relatively tame. Everybody's waiting.
I was going to say, I was hoping you were at the shooting range, but you're in Illinois.
No, yeah, I know, but there's shooting ranges in Illinois. My brother and sister-in-law go to a shooting range in Illinois like once a week.
My brother goes all the time too, but you have to get all your licenses to get the firearm in the first place. You have to go with somebody that already has a FOID card if you don't have it. I don't know if you have it or not.
I do have one, yeah.
I'm assuming you do because of who you are. But my shooting range is like 4 feet from my backyard. It's got to hop the fence into public land and I can shoot.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love the free state of Florida. Okay. Anyway, we are just obviously we're killing time here, people, which we don't really want to, but we are going to bring on our guest who is a friend of the show. He has been decades a foreign policy expert, geopolitics, particularly as it relates to economics. He has advised high-ranking politicians, congressmen. He is our friend Albert Marko. Let's bring him on. You know what's funny, Albert? Like over the 10, 12 years I've been on Twitter, I'm not even sure how long it is. It's like over time, it seems like you get assigned teams. Like there's some people who are just on your team. They're on your fighting side. And together you go against other people. And I don't even know how that function happens, but I would just consider you as one of my teammates. We're on the same team. Guys like Tony Greer, Tony Nash, Jared. We're all just kind of together. And we don't even have all the same opinions on everything, but we have the same attitude towards it. We're not afraid to take a punch. We're not afraid to give one. I love your opinions on things, but mostly I love how you are unafraid and you are brash about it and you hold nothing back. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for noticing.
I really thought you were going with, but mostly I love you.
Oh,
no, what do you mean? Don't you guys know what I'm talking about? Doesn't it seem like you just form alliances? Yeah. It's like a game of Risk or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, it's mainly because a lot of especially in trading, there's the guys that are realists and there's the guys that are just strictly by the book fundamentalists, right? And we clash a lot between. I mean, and honestly, it's like how can you be a fundamentalist in this market when you see every single shred of government data falsified or just a Mag 7 being so outweighted in the markets and whatnot, and still try to make an argument that this is like a free traded market and things have to go by ones and zeros all the time.
Amen. That is actually a brilliant way to say it. And we you know what? I'll actually sharpen it a little more. We are mistrusters because we have done the homework. I mean, we didn't just decide to mistrust things, but we have done that because we've been around a long time and we've noticed it. I want to talk with you about some Well, we're going to talk about obviously Mag 7 and we're going to talk about NVIDIA, but as long as we're waiting on the earnings, I want to talk about some of the geopolitical stuff that I've seen you comment on in the past. So when we attacked Iran, I have zero idea if we should have, if we shouldn't have, not even sure that that matters anymore. If they're really pointing nuclear missiles at us, obviously we should have. I don't know what it's true because I don't believe anybody. First of all, can you talk about, is this war going to leave us in a better position geopolitically, a better position economically in a year?
Geopolitically, no, right? But the problem is people pointing towards a geopolitical justification for this war. You know, it really had nothing to do with it. I mean, the markets and the economy were struggling, and Trump and Besant want to keep the market bubble intact. And to do that, they decided to export inflation throughout the rest of the world by closing the Straits of Hormuz. And what that did was drive capital back into the United States. I mean, from across everywhere. I mean, there's only safe haven. And you saw it. I mean, you saw the last 6 months where the markets just keep going up and up and up, and it's, you know, relentless.
So tell me this, you said something that, and I agree. I've seen, you know, ton of capital flowing back to the U.S. We used to, then they'd buy U.S. Treasuries. They didn't buy U.S. Treasuries this time. They bought U.S. big tech stocks. I made an argument at a live event last week that U.S. big tech stocks are being viewed as the safe haven trade, and they have been viewed as a safe haven trade for a couple of years. I don't agree that they should be. Do you think that that thesis has merit?
Oh, absolutely it does. And the main reason is because Mag 7, well, Mag 8, because of Broadcom is probably in on that list now. They're used as NatSec, right? National security. And when you're trading and you're trying to look at like shorting the tech market, like why would you do that when Trump and them, they consider this national security stocks? And of course, obviously, we're talking earlier about NVIDIA being outweighed in the market. I mean, you can definitely see that going up and down as, you know, the stock moves. You know, this is what they use.
Yeah, Bobby.
How long do you think, this is to both of you, how long do you think it's been a safe haven? Because like if I put up a correlation to gold, for example, on my NASDAQ chart here, they're definitely not correlated except for about since about the end of July. They've been highly correlated, right? Going up together, essentially. They went down together for a brief period of time in March. Like March.
Did you go back all the way to 2021 or 2022?
Can I go back to that far?
Can you? Yeah, because that's where
sure.
I think would be more interesting to me. But I'm not sure. You know, gold jumps back and forth from being safe haven, being inflation hedge only if they're not fighting inflation, to being, you know, back of geopolitical central bank buying. So I'm not even sure what the hell gold is. So I'm not sure that correlation should be intact. Albert, do you have any comments on that?
You know, it's tough because I understand why people want to consider gold as a safe haven, and I get it, right? But if you look at the numbers, when you're looking at a return for something, and really when you're buying gold, you're really trying to arbitrage dollars. I mean, that's what you're trying to do, right?
If you break it down, that's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing, right? And but on the flip side is like I can make a much higher return on a weekly basis with NVIDIA call options than I can ever do with gold, even over a 10-year span, right? I mean, like there's been instances where, you know, NVIDIA moves 10-15% in a week, and your call options are up like, you know, 200%, depending on the expiration dates on those things. So it's like, and a lot of these sovereign wealth funds, they play both, right? They buy gold because obviously their clients and their populace want to see that. It makes everybody feel good. But in terms of returns and trying to arbitrage dollars, I definitely think that Mag 7 is much more important.
So you don't think the Mag 7 trade, because you did say the word bubble a couple paragraphs ago, you don't think the Mag 7 trade is stretched and tired? You still think it's in vogue?
I think it is stretched and tired. However, because the administration is dead set on keeping the market inflated, that it still has legs to go. When that pops, whether it's December or, you know, mid 2027, I don't know. I don't hold those buttons, but I still think it has legs.
So you mentioned trading it with call options, which is great. So you just keep rolling your call options, taking your profit when it goes up, and then when the bubble breaks, all you'll be on the hook for is what you paid for the option. That's
Exactly.
And again, these options are expensive. They're
Of course
expensive.
they
I'm
are.
telling people the calls are juiced. Do you ever buy just wide call spreads and sell a little of that juice too, or no?
Not really. I do sell puts. I like doing that, especially when it feels like the market is at a breaking point. That usually Besant, Trump, and those guys step in and say something generous for Mag 7 stocks.
Right, Bobby. Nothing on NVIDIA yet, right? Nope, nothing here. Okay,
No,
so
I don't
let's
see anything yet.
go to China. So there are people, some of them named Jim, who think that one of Trump's whole a year and a half long tact has been trying to weaken the position of China on the global stage, whether it be Venezuela, whether it be Iran, pretty much all of it. Do you think he's doing that? Do you think he's successful? Do you think he will be successful?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they've absolutely been trying to weaken China's position. And the fact of the matter is, taking away their supply chains through Venezuela and South America was key, right? Absolutely key. Doing the same thing with Iran at the moment is a key move. The problem is that they haven't actually taken it to the level where I would like to see them have success. I mean, the government of Venezuela is still intact, except for Maduro, right? The government in Iran is still intact. So it's like, okay, you guys went to level 7 and stopped where you could have, completely cut off the supply chains and the influence of China and Latin America and in the Middle East. So they are doing it. I just don't think that it's as successful as they could have had.
Well, my follow-up was going to be, I want to say one thing real quick, and Bobby, I'm going to give you the question. I spoke to a group of about 200 Brazilian financial professionals last week, and someone who was asking a question joked about how Trump took out, was it Maduro in Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
And who's the dictator-ish in Brazil? Is that Bolsonaro?
Lulu. That's Lulu.
Lulu. And one of them, someone in the audience of the question said, is there any way you can convince Trump to take out him the way he took out Maduro? And everybody started clapping. Like the whole 200 people were so aligned on that, which I think is funny. But Bobby, your question. Yeah.
I have a question, but I want to read Widge's question because he's missed the last couple of shows, at least on a live basis. Widge says, do these tech giants know they are too big to fail? And is that why they're leveraging themselves so much?
Yes, right?
They absolutely know. They know they're too big to fail. And they have a seat at a table, both at the national security level and at the Treasury and Fed level, speaking about, economic issues concerning big tech. And they know exactly that.
Back to my question, what do you think about long-term China versus U.S.? When I listen to what I call the U.S. fatalist crowd, right? China's going to win. China's overtaking. China's building more refineries. China's AI is better. China's AI is cheaper. Where does that fall in the way that you look at U.S. versus China and take it on any level at all?
I would like to pose a very simple question to all those people is like the process of processing raw materials and manufacturing on a level to where they could compete with the United States requires massive amounts of fresh water. Massive. Right, and China doesn't have it. Right, they do not have enough fresh water to even think about competing with the United States on a military level or even an economic level globally. Right, and the one of the biggest problems that they have is that India is sitting on tributaries that takes fresh water from the Himalayas, and that's why you actually have both India and China building mountaintop bases for incoming conflict in the next 30, 40, 50 years.
So you think it's more likely, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, that they would have a major war with India than they would with, say, Taiwan, for example, which really wouldn't be a war?
Without question. You're talking
That's
about
super fucking interesting to me.
You have 1.5 billion people on either side of the Himalayas absorbing that fresh water and need that fresh water.
So okay? So I know this is a show about trading and finance and investing. There's some really interesting shit that we just talked about. Mag 7 being too big to fail. China not have enough fresh water to compete with us on a national scale. What's the investable themes that are going to come out of this? Do you still want to be long oil, Albert? Or what is it?
I am long oil in the 60s, low 70s, and I'm always a seller of oil anywhere in the 90s.
Okay, that's interesting. Bobby, what do you think the investable themes that come out of this are?
Yeah, it's funny. I did a Yahoo interview a couple of days ago, and I told them that, it was on Yahoo after the initial spike where they had me on to talk about oil. And after that initial spike to whatever it was, 109 and change, I said the high's in. And then they came back to me a couple of days ago and they're like, crude oil's going up. The high's still in to me.
The
It's
120
still in.
high you're talking about, right?
What's that?
The 120 high from that spike Sunday night?
What was it? 109 or something on
I thought it was
WTI?
120. Yeah, whatever.
Was it as high as 120? Here, I'll look at it real quick. I switched my chart to be able to look at NVIDIA. Hold on a second.
We have to.
Yeah, you're right, Jim. It's 119.48.
Yeah.
We always have to pay attention to the oil because oil is like a big inflationary component in the United States. And Basant and Trump and everybody, they use futures. They always have for years. And
Yeah.
I've been telling people for 10, 15 years that they use futures to knock oil and any commodity they want down to size.
And that goes back to, Jimmy, what you're saying about oil for me. I mean, for me, the problem is not oil, it's distillates. It's what comes from oil. Like we have a diesel shortage. That's where inflation is going to come from. It's not going to come from high oil prices. It's not even going to come from the pump. Because as we all know, inflation comes from the pump and it comes from the higher crude oil prices. But then that eliminates a certain amount of discretionary spending. Jimmy, you've been pounding the table on that for years. It just doesn't happen initially. Initially, the inflation comes in. And then as it sustains, takes away discretionary spending. And it doesn't necessarily pull inflation away. But people think that when they go to their local racetrack or their local whatever the fuck, that's where you're going to see inflation come from. It's going to come from diesel prices. We have a diesel shortage because we don't have refineries. Even the Brownsville refinery, we talked about that a couple shows ago. It was supposed to be up and running by now. They haven't even broke ground. That's the first U.S. refinery in what, like 40 years, 50 years that's going to be built. And they still haven't even broken ground because of the regulatory environment. On the other hand, China is building refineries, but they don't have any oil, right? So, and now I find out something I didn't know. They don't have any fresh water. So it's like the inflation is coming from diesel. So the price of crude oil, we see very little improvement, except there's not going to be destruction of oil facilities in the U.S.-Iran conflict. So that production may still be somewhat available down the road. But the refinery issue is the thing. You can't produce distillates. So the inflation is not coming from oil. So I want to sell oil. I might want to buy RBOB or something like that. And, on the other side.
Soybeans 2 weeks ago. I came out on a show, because, soybean and diesel traded a very high correlation. And diesel was going through the roof and soybeans weren't moving. And now they're up just tremendous amounts. So I talked about that trade and yet didn't make any money on that trade. Albert, I just heard a guy, some political pundit, geopolitical expert, he was on Tucker Carlson. And he was talking about how over the last 40 years, Iran has made several overtures to the United States to improve our relationships. They did it in the 90s. They did it after 9/11. And each time they've gotten, in his words, the back of our hand. He surmises that we can't ever have had a good relationship with Iran because it would somehow eat into our relationship with Israel, who considers Iran their prime enemy. Do you believe there's merit in that? Do we do things just for Israel?
No, I mean, listen, the biggest problem between the United States and Iran has never been Israel. It's always been Latin America operations by the IRGC with illicit drugs, illicit oil, illicit arms. They sell weapons to the Houthis. They're active in China, in Africa, that all counter against, U.S. and Western European interests. And that's the crux of the thing. I mean, they're sponsors of terrorism, from Lebanon all the way to the Three Borders region in South America.
So when the news broke on February 28th that we were going into a conflict with Iran, what was your original thought? Were you like, good, finally get rid of those pests?
Well, yeah, initially, of course, but then I find out that they're just doing it to keep the markets inflated, and then I'm just like, okay, well,
just can't win, right? Yes.
If we can get a 2-for-1, I'd be happy, but
No, but again, motivation is so funny. Like if you jump in to save a drowning man because he owes you money, that you still saved him. Your motivation might have been bad, but the act was still good. I mean, does that make sense? Yeah.
No, it makes sense. It does make sense. And like from a national security standpoint, a defense standpoint, it was good to go in there, right? From an economic standpoint, that's still questionable, and that'll be judged, 10 years from now, really.
Hold a quick
Right.
time out. NVIDIA's on the move. First it rallied a buck, then it dropped a buck. Now it's down 0.7%. So it's been set in motion. Bobby, are they out?
Yeah, they're out. Net second quarter net 39.69 billion. That's their net revenue, 39.69
First, you know
billion.
what estimates were?
What?
What estimates were?
I don't know that. I'm trying to find that now.
Any of you guys who are watching us too, you can send it out on Twitter or send us
EPS $2.46. See if I can see the estimate here. Estimate for revenue was 92.27 billion. EPS was $2.09 was the estimate.
And it beat it?
Beat the EPS. I think it fell short on revenue.
Okay. So right now it's struggling, but not much. It's down about 1.5% for NVIDIA earnings. That's basically nothing, right?
Yeah.
So as long as it's settling and trying to read, the market is trying to read through it. Albert, do you think, like, is NVIDIA just the central hub of everything else is just the spokes in the U.S. economy right now?
There's certainly argument to be made for that. Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
I mean, even within the Mag 7, it's like NVIDIA is like the 800-pound gorilla, right? And everything else is kind of falls in line with it, up or down, right? And you can actually watch that list of Mag 7 stocks, and like when NVIDIA and whatever Meta or Google fall, 3 or 4 others rise and 3 others are waiting in the wings. It's quite comical. But once you actually learn to read the script of how they do this, it's a easy, pretty.
Right. A couple weeks ago, I started buying Microsoft because Microsoft was down 35%, and that seemed kind of odd at the time. It's been a pretty good trade so far. Do you think that they're still weak? Meta's still weak. What are your thoughts on those two?
Same thing. I mean, they're NatSec companies based on when it comes down to it, AI and national security, surveillance and whatnot, and used by the U.S. many divisions of the U.S. military, and obviously their tech brand is a big component of the market. So it's a good trade whenever it drops down that much.
That's what I thought. Right, Bobby?
Yeah. But how much Google do you think the CIA owns?
No, Google is the CIA. Albert, just so you know, Bobby, this is to me, not to you. Google, about 7 or 8 years ago, I came to the realization one morning, crap, Google's just an arm of the CIA. I still have friends who push back on me for this. It is the dumbest argument that they make on the planet. If we were in charge of the CIA or any big intelligence department, you think we're going to let a company collect intel on everybody way, way better than we do? It's absurd to think they're not, at the very, very least, infiltrated in Google. I think they even started Google. It was started with the Defense Department loan. Thoughts?
Listen, Google and Microsoft and all those guys, they all have a seat at the table when they're talking about intelligence matters, especially on the web and stuff like that.
It's so odd to think that people push back, right? Like, why would they ever not have that?
That's crazy.
So real quick, just because it's on Twitter here, where the hell did it go? Our friend, I lost it. Hang on. I got a question there he is. Nathan Dallin. He's a friend of ours. Asked any chance refined products can go higher even as crude stays in the trading range. We may have discussed that already, but I think absolutely. What do you guys say?
Well, I want to see your chart analysis. Can we do a quick thumbnail on diesel, and you give me a
what do you want to look at, Albert? You want to see ULSD or RBOB, or what do you think?
ULSD. Let's take a look at that.
ULSD.
What is ULSD?
Basically diesel. Just call it diesel for now.
Is it a futures contract or an ETF?
It's a futures contract. It's New York Harbor, ultra low sulfur diesel.
I just remembered what it was. Yes. Okay. That rings a bell now.
Yeah. Hang on. I'll put this up real quick. And actually, you'll see a little bit of selling off on ULSD, but nothing like what it should be.
I mean, any one of these commodities can just.
Luis, can you put this up?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so right against the 50 and it bounced, huh?
Yeah, it bounced, which crude oil didn't really bounce. So
it's shaping up for a trade as it comes back out of the rotation zone, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I like this long. It's the rotation zone is kind of flattening out here. So I would want to see it break back out above. But I'd probably buy it above this close, which is about 4.1734. I think this is a very possible thing. Albert?
I like it, especially going into the fall, Christmas time, and Everybody's on vacation now, but orders start ramping up, manufacturers start ramping up. I like it. I do like it.
Is there a good ETF for diesel or no? By the way, CME, we love the CME. If you want us to strictly talk about futures, we certainly have a price, but right now you're not paying it exactly today.
I always traded this when I wanted to trade diesel, which isn't that often, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But you guys who are out there, if you guys could shoot us a message about where the diesel is as well, too, where the ETF
We
is.
just said we're at $6 retail for diesel locally in Pennsylvania.
Holy crap.
And that's what I mean. That's where your sticky inflation is going to come from.
Right. Yeah.
It's from
I'll
diesel.
take a quick time out in the show. Sorry about this. Luis, will you put the banner up? This is the part of the show where I ask a favor of all you guys who are watching us. Please scan that QR code and try Tradier Pro for 3 months for free. It is the gold standard in options trading platforms. We talk to guys who've been trading options for decades. Those who've been trading it for days. They all say the same thing, that it is the real deal. Do it because you're interested or do it because it's a favor to us. But please scan that QR code, 3 months for free. And now back to the show. See, Albert, I'm getting to be a professional at this shit, by the way. I'm no rookie anymore.
No, you're good, man. I've seen you progress, man. We're going to have to knock Fox Business off the TV screens.
Right off, yes.
By the way, Jimmy, CNBC reached out to me today.
Did they really?
Yeah, for crude oil commentary. And I said, look, I haven't talked to you guys in 7 years. Let's keep it that way. That was my response. I'm like, I have no interest. Albert, real quick. So we're about the 8-month plus anniversary for Maduro in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. What has come out of that, if anything? And I'm talking economic, not ethically or morally. What's come of that economically for the U.S. and is anything more to come? And is anything happening that people don't realize?
Not much. I mean, Chevron had waivers to begin with. Venezuela's pipelines and factories over there in oil just were depleted. I mean, they were dilapidated. There has been no investment for 30 years in that country. And even then, like when Chavez and Maduro had taken over, they just inflated the numbers of oil production in the country. So there's no real benefit that we've gotten. Now, I mean, politically, obviously, cutting them off from China. Cutting China off from them in Latin America is a benefit that we'll probably see 10 15 years down the line, but economically right now there's been nothing that I can really point to.
Bobby, can I ask you guys both a question on that too? Is that the story was 8 months ago, and you've forgotten more about oil than I know. I traded off the technicals, but the story was that the type of oil that came from Venezuela needs special kind of refining to make it useful for us particularly. Yep. Has there any headway been made on that? You say no, Chevron's not made a refinery there. Is that the case?
No, from what my understanding is, they can't even get the old levels of oil out of the ground. And this is something I talked about in the Gulf, right? Is the longer wells are shut in, the harder it is to get them up and running again. They actually have to be re-drilled in most cases because that oil wax from the bottom comes down and actually solidifies to almost a level of concrete when it's exposed to oxygen for a long period of time. So it's not easy to get that oil out. And I'm not sure if the administration said, we're going to get their oil, we're going to get them pumping tomorrow. Like, Trump has said about a lot of things. Ukraine war would be over tomorrow. Inflation would be at 0 tomorrow. That's his normal bluster. Whether they can get Venezuela, correct me if I'm wrong, Albert, their height was about 3 to 4 million barrels a day, if I remember right.
Yeah, but
they were down. What's that?
They lied. Chavez and Maduro lied about those numbers.
Okay, right? So what do you think it was in real life?
Probably half that in reality. Okay. Half of it, and then a lot of it was Russian stuff that was coming over, and then just papers transplanted and shipped out as Venezuelan.
It's funny you say that. I know a guy who has connections in Venezuela, and he was buying oil to resell it.
Yeah,
he was Venezuelan. He was buying oil in the U.S., getting it shipped on barges, then taking it out and reselling it to Asia.
Yeah, of course. Wow. They do that all the time. There's a facility in Morocco that changes Russian and Iranian oil and puts new documents on it, and the Europeans gladly buy it. I mean, it's a game.
Bobby and I have been talking about this for forever. Any sort of embargo, all it is a hurdle within the path of global shipping lanes, and then they adjust and get around it in some way. So it almost seems kind of silly when you're shutting people off, because it's just about a 3-month thing, and then all of a sudden things spring up and figure it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really shut things down unless you kill them. That's just the way it is. Just, logistically, just there's always work.
What do you think, Albert, about the economic D-Day for Iran? Okay, I got your answer right there. Go ahead.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Cut them out of the dollar market? Who cares? They're paying dollars out of West Africa for Iranian, illicit arms and oil.
But even if they put pressure on everybody who's dealing with them, do you think that's even possible or no?
No, they already said that they were going to do that with the Chinese. So where does the enforcement come now? Now they just ship everything to China.
So let's talk about the debt and the bond market. Okay, so you guys who are watching, starting on August 5th, they came in to assist the Japanese in buying the yen. The thesis was put up by guys like me right away, and I started buying gold and silver, was that they didn't want Japan to sell the $1.1 trillion of bonds. Now all of a sudden they talk about buying bonds by selling short term or by selling the treasury account. Now Rick Santelli argues that all he's doing is trying to make sure nobody's comfortable having a steepener on in U.S. rates. He doesn't want people just to think they can sell the bond market with abandon. And every once in a while, Scott Bessent is going to step up and smack him in the face because he's a trader. He's been a trader for a long time. I think it's something a little more ominous than that. I do think that the Treasury is blinking and worried that we spend too much damn money. What are your thoughts?
They do. They are worried, but only on the short term, not so much the long term, because the long term is about 75% of it is controlled by the Fed, Treasury, and their proxies. So if you see some move in the long term, especially the 10-year, you're talking that they're signaling a policy shift, right? I like the whole bond vigilante thing is like a joke to me, right? I know for a fact that they control the long term, right? Okay. So Bessent's gone out there lying to central banks and funds and saying, "Oh, the U.S. debt's unmanageable. You need to help support the market bubble to keep things going." That's what he's been going around saying, right? And again, it goes back to my Mag 7 being a defensive stock for the entire market and an asset stock. So it's like, the whole bond market thing is just, I just don't trust it. I know what they do with it. In the long end, short end, I don't know. But
short end they control even more blatantly and more transparently, right?
So the long end is only $2 or $3 trillion. That's all it is. Right?
Really, I would have guessed more, but offhand, right? Yeah, okay.
That's all it is, right? And the same thing with like oil and other commodities. They can use futures and leverage things, and that's it. It's controlled.
Yeah.
So
sounds like an argument to buy more gold. Is that what you're saying or no?
I mean, listen, as much as I don't like gold for a political purpose, I do like it for an investment purpose, especially, I mean, at 3,800, 3,400, everyone and their mother is gonna be buying it.
Yeah. Bobby?
Are we past that? Speaking of gold, are we past that period of time now where people expect it to go back to 1,900, 2,000, which were the previous highs before that extended run that we got up to 5,000 and change?
Yeah, you would be lucky to see 28.
Wow, that's nuts. So ask me if this is nuts. I've said this on the show before. I get ridiculed by everyone except Jimmy because he knows how often I'm right. I have a $7,800 target for gold by the end of 2027.
Oh, no, I ridiculed you behind your back the other day.
That's true. You did. I heard about it.
On another show.
About it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I have a target of $7,800 by the end of 2027. I could go into the theory for it. I could go into the math for it. But essentially, it's because no matter who we elect, we suck at governing and we suck at handling our currency. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so at 6,000, it starts creating problems for the dollar, right? Mm-hmm. They've known this is why they crushed it at 5,600, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that they're starting to clear out those issues, and I do think that gold could go to 8,000.
Can you explain why at 6,000 it becomes a nightmare for the dollar?
Well, then you have countries not buying treasuries, then you have all sorts of issues. So countries trying to get gold-backed currencies and all sorts of things that affect SWIFT and just the whole like the whole like foundation of like the reserve currency. They just don't really. It just starts to cause problems, right? So
interesting. Okay, Bob.
So is that an argument for kind of scaling out at those levels, or is that an argument for just not getting so heavy into gold the way that some of us are? And I'm not a gold bug. I mean, I've only felt this way since about 2023, right? Where I have a large amount of physical gold. I speculate on gold futures, but I have a large amount of physical. And so it got up to 5,600. And that's when I started doing my calculations. I'm like, okay, based on the dollar, it should be somewhere around 7,800 sometime in the next couple of years. If there's a political, and I'll even call it a geopolitical problem at 6,000, is that an argument for kind of scaling back at that point? I mean, theoretically, just by asset allocation rules, I should anyway.
Yeah, I certainly would be really wary of buying it over 5,600 or 6,000.
Sure.
Because I mean, what are you going to gain? $17 at that point?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, the risk reward is terrible.
Yeah, it's just not there, right? Certainly 3,000s. I mean, hand over fist buying, right? Low 4,000s, adding, right?
What do you, and I'm sorry, Jimmy, I know I'm jumping into this, but what do you make of, I think it's like 15 months now that China's bought and they've increased the amounts over the last 3 or 4 months. Is that sort of what you're talking about in terms of it causing problem for the dollar?
Yeah.
Sort of the same thing?
Yeah, that's not just China. I'm not really so much worried about China because China buys and sells at it's state secret, so you don't really know what they're buying and selling.
Fair enough.
But you know, you talk about the European Union, right? Them collecting gold, especially France, UK, all these other major European countries, you know, taking the gold out of the Fed and whatnot. Those are problematic, right? And and a lot of people don't realize this, but France has the only other smaller reserve currency in the world, right? And that's the French West Africa franc, that's still in use today through the Bank of France, right? And you know, they start gold backing that. It's like, okay, well, now you have a bigger pool of African countries starting to use that for trade and stuff. So of course it causes problems.
So, but okay, so you said Europe, and Poland has been buying gold too. I remember reading that, correct? That's correct. Anyway, so is that when they start increasing their gold purchases, it means by definition they're not buying as many dollars in treasuries. Does that really belie a deterioration of the strength of our relationship with them?
No, not at all. I mean, our relationship with Poland is more military defensive than it is anything else, right? I don't think Poland has too much of an economic pull, you know, with the United States. But like, listen, the dollar being at like 105, 110, 115 causes problems for the euro. So of course, you know, they need to like offset that by buying gold. I mean, it's just normal. I would do the same thing. I mean, I remember talking to the Turkish government, and they had piles of gold, and you know, the lira was just tanking and stuff. And I'm like, it's at 5,500, guys. Start selling, and they did. Yeah, and then they started buying back again in the low fours. You know. Yeah. So,
I'm kind of uniquely interested in Brazil over the last couple of weeks, mostly because I met all those Brazilian people. I know I've said it a couple of times, but they said, one woman asked me the question, do you think that Brazil is uninvestable compared to America? And I said, doesn't matter what I think. What does matter is that they're keeping rates at 14% specifically to keep capital from flowing out of Brazil, ostensibly to America. Is there anything, could Brazil, in your mind, or do you know anything about this yet? Can they pull off an Argentina? Can they pull off a political switch where people will say, okay, maybe Brazil's the place now, or no?
It's hard because Lulu has paid off a lot of the gang members in the favelas to farm votes, right? And it's once you go down that route, you know, money, power, it's really difficult, right?
So what Albert's saying is those are kind of like the terrorist organizations in Brazil, correct?
Yeah, they're mafia. They're mafia guys.
What? Okay, mafia. Yeah, it's a club. It's not a gang.
Yeah.
we have a little experience with that, Mark. But anyway, so that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump has kind of put Brazil in the crosshairs, because of those decisions to incorporate, you know, some of the criminal element into the thing. Correct? Is that
that's certainly part of it. Absolutely.
So then they said, you know, they said all of them, when I said, well, where would you rather be with, you know, 10 years of money in the Bovespa or in the S&P 500? And they were like, absolutely S&P 500. That's a layup, right?
Yeah. You know, but there's one country that, you know, not to deviate, but there's one country I don't know why we don't talk about more often, and that's Panama.
Okay, tell me more.
That place, it's like, you know, they're on the dollar. Their treasury works with our treasury. Politically, they're very westernized, and they're the choke point for the entire world for shipping. There's billions and billions of dollars invested there on a monthly basis. You know, fuel, goods transporting back, food transporting back and forth, and yet nobody talks about this country. It's just crazy.
How do we invest it? What's the way to do it? I'm kicking up some.
I honestly, I can't even answer that right now, and I do have a good friend there that works in the government there, so I'll definitely have a word with him and ask him what the best avenue is. But I mean, Panama for me would be like, what a great little mini safe haven, in my opinion.
I want to touch on that for a minute, because I have talked about Panama. It's less than 3.5 hour flight from Miami to Panama City. A while back, I was thinking of moving out of the country, and my two countries were Belize and Panama. Those are the two I was looking for, right?
Panama, yeah,
now,
right.
Belize, for obvious reasons, right? They're on the US dollar. Their actual, I call it their second language, but a lot of places their first language is English. But the crime rates in Belize are pretty bad if you go out of these little expat enclaves, right? Panama seemed a lot more of it seemed like a better choice, right? And I think it's only getting better. Am I wrong about that?
No, it is. It's getting a lot better. The government there is conservative, fiscally conservative, right? It's safe. A lot of the mountain retreats, mountain cities, it's 75 degrees there year round because of the elevation. I mean, it's great. I mean, I've been to Panama City. Panama City is like the New York of the tropics. It's crazy. Yeah. You go there and it's just like skyscrapers amongst the jungle.
Wow, this is interesting. I'm going to be doing some research. And again, and you guys watching, this is a conversation with you guys. But Albert, we always joke that the people who watch this show are sometimes way, way smarter than us on the topics we talk about, which we have no problem with. We do this show to inform if we can and to learn if we can. So if anyone out there has ideas how to invest in Panama, ETFs, etc., please let us know. Bobby, you got the last question?
Yeah. How do you feel about this treasury buyback thing, which obviously – I want to word this correctly. It's normal debt operations being doubled, right? Treasury says they can do it out of their treasury. I'll call it their treasury slush fund. They call it their reserve fund. They say they can do it out of there. They don't have to issue more, yet the dollar got weaker from it. What's your view on it overall?
Oh man, Besant, this guy.
He's no dummy, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
He's no dummy, right? There's no question he's no dummy, right? There's no question about that. This whole buyback thing, it's like why? You don't even have to do this, but why are you doing this? I mean, you're talking about like rates are going, like through the roof or whatever. You guys control that to begin with. Why don't you do that? But again, it's another psyops operation to get the world to flood money back into the U.S. Even the buybacks, it's crazy, and that's one of the reasons gold took off. From 4,000 or 3,900 to 4,600.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's why Bobby, the day that the first thing broke, I started buying calls in silver. Again, I probably should have bought gold, but silver's done fine.
Silver worked.
Silver worked.
Percentage, same percentage.
Yeah.
So we got a last question from Widge, Jimmy.
Sure.
So when you're done with your comment there, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask one more question too about the Fed tightening. We still think the Fed's going to, I mean, we don't, but the market still think the Fed's going to tighten. Now, I don't, I think, I should say.
No.
I don't think the Fed's going to tighten. The Fed's not going to tighten. The Fed, it'd be stupid. The efficacy of a tightening won't be felt for 6 to 8 months. And by that time, crude will have done a number on the economy anyway, and all they're doing is ushering in a recession, correct?
Yeah, he's not raising rates. He spoke to people I know. There's no rate raising.
And is all the hawkish talk just that he wants to be perceived as not a lapdog for Donald Trump?
Of course.
That's what I thought.
He wasn't even Trump's selection. He didn't want Warsh. He tried to undermine Warsh. Yeah, he tried to undermine Warsh's nomination, right? And vote. So it's like he doesn't want Warsh, and Warsh doesn't really care what Trump has to say, right? Warsh is going to do what he's going to do. But he can't raise rates right now.
I don't think so either. Yeah. Bobby, what's Widge's question? Then we'll play us out.
Is that an analog vehicle behind you?
Yeah, it is.
Widge, I want to get an analog. I want to get like a collector car just because I don't want to be tracked so damn much. I hate my car is reporting to Central Command on every move I make. I know it is. I can feel it.
I've been looking for a 63 or a 64 Pontiac Tempest for a long time now because that was my dad's first car. And if I can find one, it wasn't a GTO or anything. It was just strict Pontiac Tempest from 63 or 64. If I find one, man, I'm snatching that up.
If anyone can find me a 73 perfect condition Chevy Nova, I'll take it. Good memory than that.
That's going to be hard to find.
Yes.
Says
All
it
right.
all.
Yeah, Albert, where can the people find you?
Mainly on X, right? My handle is AM Live Monitor.
What does that mean, by the way? I've always
So
wondered that.
the funny thing is like
Luis, do you have that? Can you put that up?
Yeah,
A widget says it all. Do you have Albert's Twitter?
So I was watching Wikipedia had this theory that like breaking news would happen by people updating their entries and whatnot. So it was called Wikipedia Live Monitor. And I was following. I'm like, whatever. I'm just gonna put my initials in front of Live Monitor because I wasn't taking Twitter seriously at that point. But and then people started following me, so I guess I had to.
Yeah, right, exactly. When the crowd is there. Okay, he is Albert Marko. You can follow him AM Live Mon, which he's fun to follow on Twitter. I love it. Love every bit of it. Thank you
Your
so much.
Your picture is spectacular on there. I'm not sure what the hell's going on there.
I got a great story about that next time.
All right, next time.
We'll hit that story. But this has been Trader's Edge. Please join Bobby and I at unfilteredinvestor.com with our chief technical strategist, Mike Arnold, who is, to call him good is way an understatement. He is absolutely outstanding. And I have made the only reason I joined up with these two is for me to trade their technicals. And it's working quite well for me. And I appreciate you guys can be part of it too. This has been the Trader's Edge.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.